Hey guys! Why yes, I am wearing a Harry Potter onesie. I'm glad you noticed. It also comes with a hood and cape. So I think I'm going to take this off because the hat doesn't want to stay on and it's strangling me. The reason I'm wearing this non-flattering onesie in this video is because it is still freezing in my room and it is warm. So please excuse it for at least this video. So today I'm going to be doing my November and December wrap up. This is the first time I've ever done like a joint month, whatever you want to call it, wrap up. But I only read 3 books in November and I really didn't feel like doing a wrap up for 3 books. Especially since it was the Magnus Chase trilogy. So counting last month and this month, I've only read 6 books, which is probably the worst I've done. Well, no, it's not the worst I've done. When I was trying to read Rick Yancey's The Fifth Wave trilogy, that was the worst because it took me so long to get through those books. But in November, I did the 24-hour readathon. It wasn't Zoe's 24-hour readathon or Dewey's 24-hour readathon. It was just my own 24-hour readathon because I wanted to get through these books in the worst way. But during that readathon, I got through The Sword of Summer. And I got, I think, almost 200 pages into The Hammer of Thor. And I tell you, once the readathon was over, for like 2 days, I didn't pick up and read the rest of this book. Mainly because I was kind of fried from reading. I feel like if I ever do another readathon, it's going to be like short or fast-paced books. That way maybe I don't get burnt out. But I eventually finished this book like the next week. And I didn't finish it before the new Pokemon game came out, which was the main goal, was to finish all 3 of these books before the Pokemon game came out on like November 11th. It didn't happen, but I actually haven't finished that game yet. I like stopped playing a couple weeks ago because of everything that was happening with Christmas and I just haven't picked it up yet. Rating wise, The Sword of Summer got 4 stars, Hammer of Thor was a 5 stars, and The Ship of the Dead was a 4 stars. Even though I think The Ship of the Dead is my favorite. I mean, Hammer of Thor is I think the best one in the series, but The Ship of the Dead is my favorite because Alex and Magnus sort of kind of get together, they at least kiss. Spoilers, they kiss. That last kiss, oh my god, that was my favorite. This trilogy follows our main character Magnus Chase as he works his way through the Norse world, and he has to go on several different missions throughout the first 2 books to eventually stop Ragnarok in the 3rd and final book of the trilogy. Although, like I said in my book talk, it feels like the ending wasn't really an ending, like we will eventually see these characters again. And I really hope we do because I love all of these characters. I'm not going to say much else about these books because I feel like they're best to just go into them blind. If you want to know more about the books, I will leave links to my book talks for them in the description box below. I have a non-spoilery section before I even get to all the spoilers, so if you haven't read them, you can just watch the first parts of the videos and then go read the books. So those are the books I read in November. Now in December, I started out the month by reading Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book by Leigh Bardugo I've read, even though I own like 5 of her books. Yeah, I own 5 of her books. Well, 6 counting this one. This is the only one I've read. But I really want to read her other books now because I loved this book. It surprised me in so many ways, both good and bad. But I really found myself loving this book and wanting to know a whole lot more about Wonder Woman before she became Wonder Woman. Because at the end of this book, it doesn't feel like she's Wonder Woman yet. Which technically she isn't, but it feels like she's on that road, but that there's still a long journey ahead. I think one of the best things about this book, though, was the fact that during the day I don't have a lot of time for reading. So I read the majority of this book at night when I'm normally like playing video games, watching YouTube videos, or drawing, or doing stuff that really relaxes me. Because books cause me a lot of anxiety, let's be honest. It causes a lot of people a lot of anxiety. But I found myself wanting to pick up this book other than doing all those other things that would relax me. And I read this book relatively fast. The pacing was really steady and the writing just flowed really nicely because it's told in dual point of view. And one of the problems I had with the book was it didn't really tell you when it was switching point of views, but it was also pretty obvious in the writing how it was written when it was switching points of view. And to be honest, I really didn't notice the point of view switching like right away. It actually took me a few pages into what is her name? Aaliyah's, I think that's how you say her name, Aaliyah. It took me a few pages into her point of view before I even noticed it. So but I knew it was in her point of view. So the point of view switch was very natural, not only in the writing, but in the story itself. And I loved it. The only real major problem I had with this book was the ending, because I felt so deceived and destroyed on the inside. And it also felt very, I don't want to say cliche, but it kind of was cliche when you think about how the Amazons view men in general. It's like, okay, so it felt like this character that we've grown to like up to this point is being made into this villain just because he's male. So he obviously has to betray Diana in the worst way possible. Who the villain was just felt forced, I guess I want to say. Even though it was written very beautifully, it just felt incredibly forced and unnecessary. The ending also didn't feel like an ending because it alluded to a whole another adventure that Diana was having to go on. It's like in the beginning the Oracle shows her these visions that apparently the next journey she's going to have to go on, that's when they happen. I don't know, and I don't know if there's an actual second book to this or not, if it's just a standalone. I'm really hoping there is a second book because I did love the book, even though that ending wasn't my favorite. Rating wise, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. Thank God I have finally read this book. I've only been trying to read this book for like, what, 6 months now? Since it came out? I don't know when this came out, but I've been trying to read it since it came out. And I have to say, it did turn out better than I was expecting. It was a solid 3.5 stars for me. And I definitely think it is my favorite book by Jennifer E. Smith so far. There's only like 1, maybe 2 of her books I haven't read, so I've read like 4 or 5 of her books. Out of all of them, definitely my favorite. I mean, this was a really long book, so I was expecting it to draw out and like totally bore me, but I like the fact that we got to know the characters before the big lottery win. So we got to see how they changed from the beginning, before they had any money, to the end where they were completely loaded and didn't know what to do with all the money. But one of the things that I had a problem with about this book was the very overused line of she let go of breath she didn't even know she was holding. It's like, how many times do authors have to use that line? It's like, who holds their breath and doesn't know they're holding their breath? You need to breathe to live. No one doesn't know that they're not breathing unless they're dead. I'm sorry, that was really way too dramatic, but it's true. And I started to knock off a half a star just for that line, but I decided not to. Because other than that line, it was actually very well written. Now, I picked up this book when I was out on a trip with my mom, and it was kind of too dark to read, so I started listening to the audiobook that I got from my library. And I listened to like the first 3 chapters because it was too dark to read. So I was like, I'll listen to this until I get home. I was like, and then after that, I'm not listening to this audiobook at all. I'm taking it back to the library. They can have it. Because that audiobook was horrible. And it's mainly because the narrator, I don't know how to describe what she did to her female voices, but they were so annoying. It was like nails down a chalkboard annoying. And then her male voices, they were just so childish and immature, which boys are childish and immature anyways, but did she really have to narrate them that way? I mean, Teddy, the main male protagonist in this book, I felt like he was like 10 years old, if not younger, in the audiobook, and that was just something that I did not enjoy at all. So once I got to a certain point, I just quit listening to the audiobook. It's just like, I cannot stand this. So how far is 3 chapters anyways? I don't think it's actually very far into the book at all. And I refuse. Oh, I listened to the first 3 chapters, so I was actually on chapter 4. 21 pages. It was 21 pages of pure hell of audiobook. I couldn't stand it. I swear I couldn't stand it. So if you want to read this book, I highly recommend that you do not pick up the audiobook. Just read the physical version of the book. If you want to read it but you want to listen to it be read to you, have somebody stand beside you and physically read the book. Do whatever you can just to not pick up that audiobook. I mean, I hate saying that because I've really been into audiobooks, but that audiobook was really terrible. I gave it like a negative 5 stars out of 10. But let's move on to my last book. Next up, I read Coming Up for Air by Miranda Kennelly. Still don't know if I'm saying her name right, but I was very, very interested in this book when it came out. So when I saw it at my library like a month or so ago, I just decided to go ahead and pick it up. I was like, it's at the library, I might as well read it. I've been eyeballing it for a while now. But this book got a solid like 2 stars. I read like the first 44 pages of this while I was waiting for my paint to dry in between, you know, coats. And then I proceeded to read the other 240 some pages like last night. It was like 2:30 in the morning by the time I finished this book. It was actually really, really fast paced. Almost too fast paced. Because it was, well, let's put it this way. It's like the 2 main characters of this are professional swimmers. So I expected to learn at least about their techniques. Like I know what a breaststroke is. I don't know what a butterfly stroke is. I don't know what the hell that is. And I didn't know what a kickboard was. That kind of threw me. I was like, I had to look that up. And after I looked it up, I knew what it was. I was like, oh, I've seen those everywhere. I just didn't know they were called a kickboard. But there was like different phrases. Like, oh, see if I can find it. The 21 breast, the 200 breast, the 200 backstroke. I mean, the 200 backstroke I got, but it's like when they said 200 free, I'm like, what the hell is a 200 free? Is that just you racing with no particular style? Which I'm assuming that's what it meant because I refused to look it up. It's like, there were several things in this book I did not understand because there was no description or detail given about it. It's like, I understand if the author is playing this as these are professional swimmers, you shouldn't have to go into detail about what all they're doing, but you have to remember also that the readers who are not professional swimmers or just swim for fun have no clue what half the stuff you're talking about is. And that was just one of the annoying things. The main character Maggie was another big annoyance because the only thing that she wanted to do is go to the Olympics, and to do that she had to beat her rival Roxy. But it's like, you know, you're focusing so much on this girl Roxy that you don't even see the other competitors that are a whole lot better than her. And she also wanted to fool around. It's like the majority of this book is just her fooling around, and then the little other percentage is her swimming. Mostly it's her wanting to fool around. And it didn't bother me. Most teenagers want to fool around. I'm one of the rare ones that never did. But that part bothered me because she drug Levi into it and didn't consider his feelings. I mean, she considered what it would do to their friendship, but not his personal feelings about the matter. And about Roxy, it was very annoying how it was portrayed that she was such a mean girl, which what she was doing wasn't nice. But she was such a mean girl, and she was a friend turned hated rival, and it's just Maggie wished she had never got her into swimming in the first place. That way she wouldn't have to deal with her. I mean, one, that's petty. For a start, I mean, that's just petty. It's like all you have to do is ignore the girl and problem solved. But I just hated the fact that she was built up in several points of the book as being such a rival, and then towards the end of the book, she just disappeared. She disappeared like somewhere in the middle of the competition where Maggie just stopped thinking about her. She said she hadn't thought about her all day. Just because you're not thinking about her doesn't mean she isn't there. All in all, I had a lot of problems with this book, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to try a few of her other books out. But these are all the books that I read in the month of November and December. And with the completion of Coming Up for Air, I met my Goodreads reading goal of reading 70 books for the year. Will I be doing that next year? Heck no, because I have a lot more planned next year. So I'm gonna stick to, I don't know, 55 or 60 books. I haven't decided yet. But I'm just so glad that I met my Goodreads reading goal. I can breathe easy for the next 3 days, and I may just read fan fiction for the rest of the month. I don't know. But that is the end of this book haul. You guys should let me know in the comments below what books you read this month. Did you take part in any readathons? I know Zoe had a 24-hour readathon that I wanted to participate in, but I couldn't participate in because I actually spent that entire day in Florence and I had no time to read. And I know Booktubeathon I don't think actually had a holiday Booktubeathon this year, which is strange. I mean, since I joined Booktube, they always have a holiday Booktubeathon. I don't know. But I know there's a lot of readathons that happen this time of year, so you guys should let me know if you participate in any of those, what all you read, and all of that jazz. Well, that's the end of this video. You guys should also let me know, along with the books you've read, and if you've taken place in any readathons, if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned in this video, and what you thought of them. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!